Okay, everyone, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. This is Rob Brewster speaking. I am the Vice President of Sales and Customer Success here at GoForms, and thank you guys for joining us. So today we're here to talk on a topic of 9 essential mobile forms. Just to give you a quick introduction, I'm going to walk you through the forms and just give you a little bit of background on why they matter, and then we'll talk about some of the industries that might be able to take advantage of this. So let's start with just the idea of you got to ditch the paper forms. So I'm assuming since you guys joined this webinar that you're in agreement with that. There's a lot of data on here that you can look at as to why, but I think the best example is just for me to tell you a kind of before and after story of one of our customers. So we have a pizza franchise that has, before GoForms, had a clipboard and 4 pages where an inspector would actually walk into one of the stores and they would go through an inspection, which included taking pictures, calculations of toppings on the pizza, cleanliness of the restaurant, and they basically had to fill out these 4 forms on a clipboard, once again. And then after they did that, throughout their route and got back to their home office or hotel, depending on if they were traveling, then they had the benefit of syncing up the pictures to the forms, scanning those forms, emailing those forms to their boss, and at the end of the day, the real benefit of that is the boss stored them somewhere and probably never looked at them again. Whereas once they started using GoForms, they took that exact form that they were using, and that's a real benefit because they didn't have a major change management or training issue, and they turned that into a mobile form. And now they could have those calculations happen automatically on GoForms. They could actually attach pictures that told the story of the toppings on the pizza. And once they completed that, that form went automatically as an email attachment to their boss. It could also have been stored in Box or ServiceMax or Salesforce or whatever technology they were using. And now that became a living, breathing document that could be reported on. So now that regional manager has the ability of saying, I want to take a look at all my stores that have these challenges because now I have a training opportunity. So like I said, you can see all the data points here as to why you want to ditch the paper forms, but I think the example is the best kind of real world example of, paper served its purpose, but if you can move it to mobile, there are so many more advantages than just the efficiency of a mobile form. So let's start talking about these now. Let's start with a work order. So work orders are going to be done where typically a customer or a dispatcher has sent someone out in the field to perform a particular function. And the benefit of that work order is you can pre-fill by having a database field that you're pulling from or a flat file CSV, but you can basically pull in the information of who am I going to visit and what job am I going to be performing, so you get some efficiencies there. You also have the ability of, if you're doing anything that relates to a service or a product, you have auto calculations that can take place. And very similar to the benefit of what I shared in the pizza example is you've got that data stored and easily searchable. So work orders are typically going to be done by construction companies, energy companies, manufacturing companies. But one thing I'll state that you're going to see in all of these examples is the forms that I'm showing you are actual forms that GoForms has already built, and you as a customer can actually take advantage of these forms. So we're not only showing you an example of how people use us, we actually have built these forms. They are available to you. So I want to make sure that that's clear in every example that I show. So once again, the first one being work orders. One other thing you could actually add to this, we don't have it in this form, but let's say you wanted to put directions or maps or some type of GPS data, you could do that as well. The reason we didn't put it in here is many people like to hide that information, at least as it relates to the initial piece on the form. So just making you aware that that's an option for you too. Second one is a request for time off. So this is a very common scenario that people have, that they either, if you're a large company, you probably have some type of a reporting system or request for time off system. But if you're a smaller company, you're probably trying to find your own way to make this happen. Maybe you do it through email or there's some type of approval. But what a simple way that we can make this happen for you. So first of all, when you fill out the form and you hit complete, an email request would go immediately to your supervisor. Your supervisor then has the ability of entering their signature, which approves it. And then the good news is it's actually doing all the calculations for you. So it calculates and tracks the total days requested automatically. It can link back to other systems related to payroll or time off, but it's just a way to work within your existing process and streamline that workflow for you. Sign-in sheets. Man, do I love this one because I travel a lot, I visit customers frequently, and I'm just amazed at how many people still give me that clipboard or folder, but you got to flip the pages and sign in all the information. I can't imagine that we will be seeing that over time. But even doctors' offices, dentist offices are starting to use iPads more frequently. So imagine instead of having that typical piece of paper as your sign-in sheet, have to do is put one iPad out front. Someone can come in, fill in their information, and then think of the other benefits you get. So if I'm the person that they're coming to see, I now can get an automated email that says, hey, your visitor is here. So I know to go back and go downstairs to grab them to start the meeting. Another benefit of that is, let's assume that you are a dentist or a medical office, and you want to send an email to the person who just left your office to, number one, thank them for their business, maybe even put a little a survey behind it of how did we do, and did your service take place as you wanted it to. So many advantages than just the actual sign-in, but then you can do some other marketing or customer advocacy things right behind it. And then employee timesheet form. So, a lot of people have to still do the sign-in as to the number of hours that they've worked. Sometimes if you're working overtime, those hours may need to be pre-approved. So one of the benefits here is, once again, if you're a larger company, you may have a system that you're already using, but for smaller companies, this is a great way for you to take advantage of some technology and streamline your process, because not only can you calculate the timesheet from the standpoint of the hours and the wage and what you pay these folks, including your overtime, but emails can be automatically sent to payroll, which makes the processing time that much quicker. And the good news is if you're using a mobile device, the employee can use this to improve their daily lives as well. So timesheets, if you're doing anything outside of technology today, this is just a great way for you to get started to take advantage of what GoForms can do for you. Employee evaluation forms. In my career, I've worked for some large companies that, they've got a NetSuite or a Salesforce or, some type of Workday, some type of system where employee evaluation forms take place. And it's great if you're a large enough company to be able to take advantage of the technologies. But let's say that you want to do employee evaluations, but you don't have, the budget. GoForms is a much more economical way to build your own employee evaluations. Now, one of the benefits, as I've stated here, is we've already built one for you, so you can use this out of the box. Or if you decided you needed to customize it for something specific to your business, you certainly have that capability here as well. So as you can see, you've got some easy fill-in-the-blank type systems that can auto-calculate for you. It's got some note sections so that you can provide greater detail. And one of the real benefits is it's stored in a secure cloud database so that you've got the confidentiality that you need for something like employee evaluations. But just a much better way to do it than any manual process today. Expense reports. Now, I've used every expense report known to man, and I actually use the expense report functionality of GoForms here at GoForms, as you might imagine. I can honestly tell you that it is the best expense report system I've ever used. It's really simple. The ability to embed pictures, the ability to have everything calculated automatically, and maybe it's our processes or maybe it's GoForms, but I can tell you that it has been the most efficient process I've ever used, because the second I hit complete, an email goes to my boss to authorize it, and the second he authorizes it, it goes to payroll, and I get a turnaround time that's better than I've ever seen. So clearly something that we use internally. If you are not using some type of automated expense report, once again, this is a form that you can use as our customer. We'll give it to you. You can customize it if need be, but it's a great way for you to leverage a very simple and very beneficial report like expenses. Job site inspection form. We're getting down into some of the real industry specific things here. Once again, job sites are going to be done for construction companies, energy companies, basically anywhere where you need to go on site and have some form of inspection take place. I think the biggest advantage of this versus paper is the ability to use your own camera and take pictures. You can also use sketches so that you can annotate to either identify a problem or highlight something. Not only do the pictures give you that benefit, but you put notes, you can put descriptions in there, And one of the real benefits here is the workflow associated with it, because once you've hit complete, you can send those pictures, those notes, everything that's needed to a supervisor, to the customer, however you want your workflow to work. One of the things I should point out in all of these, I've talked about workflow and emails. The only thing that you do need to customize, even if you're using these forms as is, clearly we don't know your exact workflow, so you would need to do some customization of these forms to determine, who is that email going to, who am I attaching this file to. So there's a little bit of customization that has to take place, but I think we're giving you a great jump start by giving you all these forms. Invoice forms. So if you're a small business and you're invoicing through paper, not only is that an inefficient process, but it slows down your ability to collect. So one of the benefits of having an invoice is, number one, you can pull from a file so that you can actually auto-populate the company name, the address, the phone number. You can also leverage calculations that if you're pulling from a system that is either an hourly wage that you've performed, or maybe it's a product that you've sold, you have that auto calculation built in. Think about it also in the sense of taxes. If you know that they're in a particular county that has a different tax rate, that can be auto-populated and auto-calculated as well. But the real benefit is once you've actually hit complete on the invoice, that invoice goes directly to the customer, and that customer can then pay, and you can even integrate this to your back-end system should you choose. So invoice forms are absolutely an essential form to use. And then release forms. So release forms, the use case here, the one that we talk about a lot is if you are a photographer or a videographer, but I know for my kids in school, sign release forms for going on a field trip. So it's basically where you need to have something approved and or authorized. The real benefit of putting a photo in here, even for every scenario that I just mentioned, knowing who has this authorization is important. But just think about how much faster it is, how easily accessible it is. And if you are a photographer, videographer, or a school, having this automated is much more powerful than moving the paper around. And then in conclusion, I just wanted to wrap up by saying, hey, look, you clearly joined because forms and automation are something that you're interested in, but I think some of the benefits are obvious, but some of them may not be. So I wanted to kind of reiterate that you're saving a lot of time with these integrated workflows. Not only do you get the benefits of using a device versus paper, but being able to integrate this into your existing workflow is huge. Using calculations to reduce the human error. I mentioned, taxes. It's not even that you would be making an error because you could always use a calculator, but you may not know that, San Diego County is a different tax code than Riverside County. So the ability to have all of that integrated to reduce the human error is huge. Capturing new types of data. It's one thing to say I'm going to use a device and I'm still going to use a form, but you can have the pictures actually sitting next to the data that you've entered. That's incredibly powerful. And then the ability to do something with the data. It's great that you get all these efficiencies and you have all these new types of data, but to be able to search on it, to be able to run reports, to be able to make decisions in real time are huge. And then one of the big benefits that we haven't spent a lot of time on, because all of these forms are pretty simple, but you can also integrate with your other business systems. So if you have, whether it be inventory systems, payroll systems, ERPs, CRMs, all the various systems that are available we can integrate with as well. So I think that's a huge advantage. I want to talk pricing just for a moment. The first thing I want to say is we do have 4 different versions. We have a free version, which is great for your single user and simple use case. We have a team version, which actually has a lot of capability in it. So it's the email capabilities, it's the quick fill-ins, it's the automation for emails, it's the calculations. We even provide a box integration there. Every form that I've shown you here today can be utilized with our team edition. So I wanted to make it clear that you're not looking at the high-end version of GoForms to be able to use everything I've shown you here today. Now, if you wanted to get more complex and you wanted to integrate with other systems, whether it be Salesforce, ServiceMax, or Zapier to hit others, then you would need our advanced edition. And then if you're doing some custom integrations and you want some more reporting capabilities, then you're looking at Premier. But I just wanted to make it real clear that we do have 4 versions, but everything I've shown you can be used in team. One other thing we're going to offer you as a person who participated in this webinar today is we're clearly giving you all the forms, so you just need to make a request by either sending a note to your account manager if you're an existing customer, or if you want to become a new customer, you can send it to sales@goforms.com. And if you use the promo code ESSENTIAL, we'll actually build out your first form for you. And what I mean by that is, if any of the 9 forms I've shared with you work great out of the box, by all means go use them. If you want to customize them and you need our help, we'll do the first form for you for free. And if you said, hey, those are all great that you shared with me, but I've got this custom unique form that we've created that I want to use, we'll build that first one for you. So just making you aware of that. We do offer form building services. We do charge $100 an hour for that. But once again, with the Essential promo code, we'll get you started for free. This is just a recap of kind of some of the things that we do. Not only is it mobile forms, but we give you the ability to integrate. We give you the ability to leverage workflow and that you can collaborate. Just a breakdown of everything that we do as GoForms. And then lastly, I want to thank you for your time. And we are going to go through some questions, so you can submit those on the chat line on the GoToWebinar. And let me get a moment to go over there and take a look, but we'll go ahead and answer some questions in real time for you as well. First question I got is, how soon can I use these forms? So great question. It basically is just as soon as you send us that note. So if you send us a note to your account manager or to sales@goforms.com, depending on how many we get, I'd probably go ahead and give myself a 24 to 48 hour leeway to get those in your account. But as soon as you make the request, we'll start working on it and get those moved over for you. It says, where do I locate the out-of-the-box forms? So that's basically another way of answering what I just did, which is you need to send us a note. We don't automatically put them in your account, but if you send a note to your account manager or if you send a note to sales@goforms.com, we'll put those in your account for you. Next one is, our workflow starts with an event started in a calendar. Can GoForms grab data from a calendar program and auto-populate an invoice? Yeah, basically what you're saying there is if you're saying a calendar program, we would just export that into a CSV file. We could pull that data from a CSV and have that auto-populate an invoice. So the answer is yes. If that answer isn't clear, you can follow up with me on that. It says, is there a modifiable form in the free account? In the free account, yes, you can still modify a form. So no issue there at all. The main difference in the free account versus the paid accounts is the number of users. So it's the free account is for 1 user to get you started, but you can certainly modify a form. Next, wow, you guys are asking a lot of questions. This is great. If I upload an invoice with 12 lines from my field worker pulls 20 items from inventory, where will the extra 8 items go? Is the form dynamic, i.e. does it accordion to accept extra rows? Yeah, that's just you customizing the form. So if you need to add more rows or you need to have it reflect inventory versus just the lines that you have in there, it's just that's customizing the form, which we do all day long. So very easy. I had another one of, can I customize these forms? I think that's kind of like the last question, so yes. And then I have another one of, can I integrate these forms with other systems? Absolutely. So out of the box, we have Box, Salesforce, ServiceMax, and Zapier. And so those you can use immediately. We typically get a lot of questions around, can I do it with SharePoint? Can I do it with SAP? Can I do it with NetSuite? We don't have those out of the box, even though we're working on more. But we can certainly, as long as there's an open API that we can connect to, we can integrate with pretty much anything. So thank you for the questions. Let me see if there are any others. It doesn't look like it. Finally, for those of you that might want to share this with your colleagues, we are recording this webinar. We will post a blog on this webinar early next week, and you will have access to the recording. So feel free to take a look at that. If there's anything we can do for you, once again, reach out to your account manager, reach out to us at sales@goforms.com, and we really appreciate you guys participating today. Thank you.